Alright, hello and welcome in today's video where we will be looking at a scenario where we have the Holy Roman Empire, but it returns in WICSO. And as usual, if you guys do enjoy, I would highly recommend that you subscribe for future videos like this. Now, without further ado, I say we just get right onto the video. Now, obviously, at least when I'm recording this, this is the most updated map, roughly episode 94. So a few things obviously have changed, but so far, mostly in Europe, it has stayed roughly the same, so we are not too worried about any of that. But mainly what we will be seeing is the HRE with little to no resistance. Is just going to, actually probably no resistance, as there's like no military. But anyway, this area, which used to be a part of Germany, is going to go ahead and get fully annexed. And seeing by this map just in general, the countries most affected that are still intact are obviously going to be the Dutch, as they went through a bit of issues here. They lost like half their land, roughly. Same with this country, also lost like half. Some basically don't exist. And we also have Poland, which got like a fairly large chunk being out of it. But could be worse. It's just that they lost their capital, so that's not too good either. The other thing is, obviously, they don't exist anymore either, as, I mean, that little strip of land would not live on for much longer anyway. But since we're kind of in a state where there's no one really understanding what's going on and countries just confused and hopeless, this is the perfect time for the HRE to snag as much land as humanly possible, which they do successfully with little to no repercussions. So that's why we see them so expansionist, at least in this beginning time, as the last target they will also be going for actually is going to be poor old little Denmark. So innocent, died so young. But anyway, they are going to just kind of get steamrolled. Roughly, 5 hours maybe. Not even 6 this time. Sorry, man. But one thing that I do absolutely dislike is this horrific border right here. As technically speaking, I cannot get rid of this, as the HRE didn't hold this land. And for some reason, the Dutch did. Why? Why did you have to do this? And I believe actually it should be something like this. So, you can thank the Dutch for this border, okay? I had nothing to do with it this time. And I mean, speaking of the Dutch, I think safe to say something's going to happen. Thank you. Thank God you decided to do something. Basically, the HRE, seeing the Dutch as probably one of their weakest countries, actually, yeah, probably the weakest country as they lost a bunch of their infrastructure, they are going to be their next target, surprisingly. A fairly powerful country, but I mean, not very powerful for much longer. And I mean, since basically everyone realizes they're about to get absolutely fried, instead of helping them, we have countries like France, which should be an ally, are just going to go ahead and try to snag as much land for themselves, because realistically, they are going to be on the chopping block one way or another, so might as well make yourself stronger, so they will actually have a really, really good sweeping campaign, moving through all of these areas and basically capturing all the major... Actually, I mean, this one's already like half done, yeah. They don't really exist anymore. There we go. So now we could look at a better peace treaty, because obviously this would not be acceptable, okay? This looks disgusting, so I'll give a proper peace treaty. Alright, and just like that, we have the French looking like they have like a big forehead or something. It looks weird. And we have the HRE engulfing like all of Central Europe. So, just a little scary. Don't worry about that, though. With this, obviously, this country is slowly running out of options, because also if we look at the alliance map, it is not working. Ah, beautiful. Why? I hate this. You are in the wrong alliance. There we go, that's better. But basically looking at it like this, and I think you're in this too. Basically looking at this, these are all the countries in this alliance, and the HRE definitely cannot take all of them on at once. So essentially this alliance is a no-go. So I mean, that's mainly Poland, which is like the only country that they actually border here. So they are essentially off the table, at least for now. So there's mainly 3 options being, I guess 4. The French right here, the Italians, the Romans, and Norway. So out of these options, some are weaker than others. For example, we have South Italy. But they are not on this list anymore. As a matter of fact, they actually don't exist anymore. As what they'll do is go ahead and unify with the Eastern Romans. Now, that may sound weird at first, as they obviously despise each other, which is very much correct. But what would you rather be, a part of the Eastern Romans or an expansionist HRE. Might as well go with your brotherly countries. Kind of. They're more like cousins, but like close enough, basically. So with that, it definitely narrows it down even more, and seeing that they're quite friendly with the Square Alliance, it could be a good excuse for them to go ahead and attack them. So the HRE mainly has two problems now. They're running out of places to expand already, surprisingly, and they're in very much need for allies. So what they're going to do is actually something slightly smarter than usual, and instead of just going straight on attack and hope for the best, this time what they're going to do is actually try to find at least one. Alright, and with this we will be seeing the Parallelogram Alliance. Don't worry, someone didn't make it this time, okay? It's a little different, luckily. But mainly it is actually going to be allied with the French, as they were absolutely terrified for their lives earlier. But seeing that they came to them with the opportunity, they will go ahead and take it because they do not want, let's just say, to become one with the HRE. So better just become independent, or at least stay independent, I guess. And with that, that leaves basically only one option, which have been at least somewhat isolationist in recent years, which will give them the edge in terms of invasion with with less allies. So we will see them begin their invasion over here in Sweden as they will make their way through these southern portions. They're going to steamroll them, point is, so that's not going to end very well. But obviously, while they're not officially in the alliance, countries like Finland are going to demand that they help them out, and not all countries are going to do this. For example, countries that will opt out are these three, aka the strongest ones. So in the end, only Finland and Estonia are helping them out. And I mean, at first, there's little to no difference, like in the slightest. But once they capture all of these southern portions of Sweden, it is finally taken with a large hit. As if we take a look at the major cities, there will be a very large pushback coming from these areas, especially in this eastern portion, liberating these two major cities right here. And with such a powerful force that just wasn't expected, they even are able to make a large encirclement in this area, essentially with this major city right over here. But since that caught them by so much surprise, they essentially lost like all of this land in the invasion. But this time, they're a little smarter, and they bring reinforcements. And they are luckily also able to reconnect to their little encirclement over here. And this time, make an encirclement of their own. That's right, they encircle the encirclement. Now that's what I call a big brain play. So basically, they will be able to crush this area right on over here. And as they are making more and more gains, they're slowly nearing the capital city over here until we will hear a call to make peace, as they see there is little to no chance, and it is best to most likely try to minimize any damages that will be happening. So we will now look at an official peace treaty. So basically, the HRE, looking at their alliance, they still see they are definitely not a fair matchup over here, as they are still going to get absolutely crushed by all of these countries. So they have to recruit a few more countries, and by a few, I mean one more country, to at least attempt to even out this playing field, as the HRE is incredibly powerful. Look at what they have. And with the French right here, they are definitely a formidable threat. But they are going to call arms and try to get one more country. And that country is going to go ahead and be West Africa. No, I'm just kidding. It is going to be Russia, which is also somewhat surprising. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But this is mostly because Russia, they technically they obviously lost, so their government's changed. But you know what hasn't truly changed? The people. And the people kind of want revenge, not just because they lost their country, but because the dictator, who was a great man originally, and sacrificed most of his stuff and his rulership for the betterment of the people. And now the people think it's only right if they give back to the ruler. So basically what they will do is they will go ahead and join this alliance for revenge on the countries that crushed them, in hopes also for getting some land back and potentially being a superpower. But don't worry about that. And with this happening, let's just say the tides have officially changed in this war. And now there is absolutely zero clue what could possibly go down, as, I mean, now it's a free-for-all. No one really knows who's going to win. And they are going to put that theory to the test, and let's just say they're going to hope that they win this one, as they will very quickly. I mean, there's no prep time, no anything. They don't even disclose this information to like barely any people. This is an outright, completely random and untold in Point is, this was a non-expected invasion, even from most of its own military, which is more caught off guard, honestly, than some of the people here. But nevertheless, they are going to have a great success from this sneak invasion, even encircling this massive area, including this major city, which gives them a massive front to work with over here. With it eventually looking something like this, just off rip. But seeing this, they will try to recruit some countries of their own, which does go successfully. As luckily, they are able to recruit their Eastern Roman friend, which is honestly a quite powerful country. But, that was probably not the best idea, as something else is going to happen. Yikes. Basically, we have Greece and Bulgaria, kind of. They will go ahead and join on the side of the parallelograms, mostly because they lost a war to the squares after they tried to fight Mesopotamia, specifically over here. So what they're going to do is also send their own sneak attack, which seems to be a interesting reoccurring thing with a lot of sneak attacks happening. And they will go ahead and be able to push back the Farmers Union significantly, even snagging these two major cities right over here, giving them a large front to work with, roughly something like this. And these northern lands will be handed over here to the Orange Bulgarians to look something like this, while we have them also becoming, I guess, bringing at least a bit of a front in this area right here. And I mean, since, let's just say, someone absolutely despises Rome, they're also obviously going to join on this side for the same reason, and Greece is doing a very, very good job on this. Although where we do see them having significant losses is over in this area, as they are almost entirely kicked out of Italy just off rip, mostly thanks to the people not wanting to be a part of this country, but also them just not expecting them to join this war, at least this soon, and mostly because their military is over here just kind of frying Poland right now. And now with their distractions in motion, there's little to no countries truly in the position to try to distract them from snagging Poland and kind of cutting everyone else off. But this is mostly thanks to Russia, as they will make their own invasions in this area, snagging this part right here. And they will also go ahead and sweep in this southern portion right here. And they will also go ahead and make a separate invasion over here, grabbing all of Estonia as if it never existed. And they will also go ahead and make a third invasion over here in Finland, which is a lot more halted, as most of their military is over here fighting in Poland, but they still make significant pushes in that area. And with this, with a brand new invasion plan in motion, essentially what they do is snag two more of these major cities, and through Estonia they will go ahead and fully cut off Poland from any ocean access, crippling their economy even more. But I mean, I think it's already bad enough. They look like thin as like chili. This is not a good sign, my friend. But essentially, all of these areas will eventually come together until the full capitulation of Poland does end up occurring. But looking on in this front, luckily for them, the Ukrainians do have at least some success in this southern portion right here. Although in the grand scheme of things, seeing that two countries are already knocked out of this war, it is definitely not the greatest thing, but they still have significant gains in this area, looking something like this. Although, for similar reasons, we also have the Eastern Russians joining this war, not really on the side of the square team, but mostly just on the side for themselves, for more land, and to maybe get, mainly just for land, but also they're not the biggest fan of the Russians. So with this, we have the Russians as the main backbone, besides the HRE right here. They're not in the biggest and best positions, which will also allow them to fully lose all their momentum over here in Finland. But luckily, this front is at least somewhat held off in this area. So the HRE sees this issue, and they will go ahead and devise a brand new plan. And essentially, it will go something like this. They are going to try to absolutely destroy the Eastern Romans, which, when you have the full Eastern Rome, this is not the Byzantine Empire, but basically we have the HRE, which, I mean, technically, two Romes fighting each other. Holy Roman Empire, Eastern Roman Empire. Interesting. But basically, these two areas, they will have, they're not going to be very good. But basically, we will have an absolute sweep, and not very good action is done to many people, but don't worry, the AN is, pretend like they don't exist, as they would definitely try to do something. But over here, with some Greek help, we will see the complete capitulation of the Eastern Romans. And for the further pushes by Bulgaria, good job, man, you're doing great. But we will also see the Greeks push up further into these areas, until we will finally see them also begin a small invasion over here in Crimea, which was absolutely not expected and also absolutely terrifies them, which they might have overreacted by pulling back some troops in this area. So we will have the Russians getting a somewhat of a foothold in this area, although they still hold on to this major city right here. And we could finally see the Russians also begin to push them out of this area right here, until it's about to all start to crumble, as we have HRE troops starting to flood into Russia and kind of start helping them sweep through all these areas, as Finland will have one more large push until, since they don't want to have the same fate, like last time being turned into a puppet, they will go ahead and surrender, although with the condition that they will still have their own sovereignty and won't get fried too much. So with that, they are gone. And the same story can be said over here in the Eastern Russians, although this time they don't really surrender and they will go ahead and keep fighting till the very end. Just the Square Alliance in general, I find it kind of funny how it looks like they took everything, but don't worry about that, because now we could actually look at a proper peace treaty and see what is officially going to happen. And also, now that I look at this, I'm sorry, you got like nothing out of this. Sorry, friend. Alright, and in this peace treaty, there's a lot to talk about. First of all, Russia looks like they were, like, basically what they looked like when they were at their original territorial peak. Modern Russia, not the Russian Empire, that was different. But also, we have the HRE looking absolutely terrifying, as they have, like, at this point, definitely doubled in size from what they've originally had. The Farmers Union is also quite crippled. Sorry, man. They just gotta be like that. We also have Bulgaria gaining some lands over here, and not sure why that exists. There we go. And we also have Greece probably having, like, a top 5 lock-in, gaining, like, all of these lands right here, as well as right over here. So they essentially gain, like, all of this stuff right here. And as you can see, France got absolutely nothing from this, besides maybe, like, they probably got, like, some money, but, like, that's it. So they're definitely devastated. Although the HRE is not done quite yet. Also, just want to point out, for military alliances, this one, the squares are obviously disbanded, and basically everyone else left it besides France, so it's now only back to those two. And that is going to matter quite a lot for this next event. And that is going to be them invading Russia. That's right. Right after they just worked together, the Holy Roman Empire is going ahead and invading the Russians. And I mean, this caught them by surprise for sure, as that's definitely not the most pleasant thing for sure. And with this off-rip, as the Russians did not expect this, and actually they thought they were pretty good friends, but it seems not, as we have the HRE fully bulldozing, that's the right word, as it will completely snag all of these lands from Russia in a very whoa, this is the Holy Roman Empire, okay? This is nothing more, nothing less. Don't tell me, okay? This looks fine. This does not remind you of anything. But basically, we will have them continue making an absolute beatdown of Russia in these areas, where they also cut off a large amount of Estonian troops, or I guess Russian troops, over here in Estonia, where it will look something like this. And the Russians, they're going to need a lock-in, but luckily for them, they do have some pushback, specifically in these southern regions. And seeing that everyone else is still in, like, a peace treaty with the Holy Romans, no one else can truly join this war, or just is too worried, or really just doesn't care. Although I think at this point everyone kind of should be caring. But so far, there's not really a single country that is too interested in joining this war. Besides one. We have the French in a top 5 lock-in with their inner WICSO Napoleon will send out their own invasion in these areas right over here. That's right, the French, which, first of all, the only reason they joined was because they were terrified. And seeing now that there's finally an opportunity for them to get fully pushed back, with the help of their sneak attack, there's actually a chance this might be able to work. And at least for now, it definitely does, as they are basically able to double their land size, at least with their occupied territory, and definitely forces them to move back a large portion of their army, as most of it actually is in these Russian territories, since they're quite even. Actually, no, they're definitely stronger. But the Russians are still very, very powerful, and seeing that they finally have an opportunity, and seeing that most countries probably hate the Holy Romans as they've been way more expansionist, there's a good chance that if there is anyone, they're going to support the Russians. Kind of similar to a war that happened over here in Brazil against the U.S. That's kind of a similar story where normally they would hate the Brazilians, but in that war they were actually the favorable country. That's essentially what's happening over here. And luckily for them, they're even able to fully push them back, and the Holy Romans are officially losing this war pretty badly, as they've officially lost all land territorial gains in occupation, and are now getting absolutely gangbanged in a two-front war. Although we do also have to take a look at this while they just completely sweep through the south, as they're still very, very powerful. Although they're definitely getting a lot of support, mainly from over here in the British. Although they don't want to get directly in the war because I don't know, they have like too much aura or something. Anyway, what we do also see is Norway, which while they did lose these lands, see this golden opportunity, and also because their peace treaty just recently ended, allowing them to go ahead and attack these areas once more, only getting the Holy Roman Empire down to only these two major cities. And it is now, how bad is this going to end up happening is really the question now, as the Holy Romans see how this is an issue, and seeing how each side is about to have massive gains, represented by all of these. Well, I mean, Russia just goes berserk mode. And with this, we have the Holy Romans seeing a lot of issues, and they also start having a lot more rebellions, which I obviously will not cover, as I think you kind of expect everywhere is just a hellhole. So before they completely collapse, they will take an early submission to this war, so they could. And in this peace treaty, there is some significant things to talk about. The first thing is you not having a capital. There we go. And I think it's safe to say we have a few things to discuss. As first thing, France. I mean, we used to have France look like in this shape, and at this point they have like over doubled in size. So good job to them. The main thing I want to talk about here is first of all, the Dutch went from like a massive country from all of this down to this laughable size of like the Netherlands in our real world. So bit of a downgrade, and let's just say they're not too happy about that. But we also have Norway over here having all of this land right here. We also have the Russians having an insane expansion. Boy, that is not gonna end in chaos in the slightest, of course. We also have the Italians staying like this, and surprisingly, we also have Rome kind of just keeping these areas right over here. And with that, we kind of just have a crippled whole HRE over here, basically as just they just kind of swapped out the old Germany for the HRE. That's my best description. But anyway, with that, if you guys did enjoy this video, please do leave a like and subscribe again if you haven't already. But with that, I believe this is going to be quite a fine video, and I will go ahead and see you on the next one.